Cool. I'll go ask him right now if he wants to run that. When you come back, I got a technical question for you. You got it. You got it. I'll host it.
Hello, Mr. Philbrook.
Hello, who am I speaking to?
Ken Haley.
Hello, sir. How are you today?
Doing well. Yep.
Everything all right up there in M&Hville?
Yep. Doing good. Yep. Getting ready for another construction season, we hope, shortly.
Yes, indeed. Don't you love it when they turn that printing press on?
I don't know if it's a printing press, but
Kenny, don't
Yes, sir.
trust a bullshitter.
I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
Hi, Linda, Laura, and Carl, and whoever Galaxy S9 is. I don't know who that is. Who's Galaxy S9? All right. We'll call the meeting to order just a little after 1. We don't have any adjustments to the agenda that I'm aware of, right, Joe?
That is correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
No adjustment.
Old business. This is probably about as far as we're going to get today. It's a review for request for a proposal. Let me just start off by saying that since our last meeting, lots of folks in Rangeley have approached not only myself, but other members of the board, and are very disappointed in Consolidated's current situation here in Rangeley and how they go about servicing their customers, and are urging me and others to make sure that we seek out other possibilities. It is a policy of Rangeley to have an RFP, which we have to do. I know that probably is going to hurt some feelings because this has got a lot of momentum. It is not our intent to slow this process down, but we have to have policies. We have to follow our policy here in town. How does Sandy River view that, Joanne? Do you have a policy for an RFP as well?
Yes, we do. We send out RFPs.
Okay. Linda, do you have the same in Dallas?
Well, we would if we were looking at a bond. Any bond situation requires an RFP.
Okay. And Sandy River, Scotty, do you have that same policy?
As I know, yes.
Okay, so we're all on the same page. At the last meeting, in all honesty, I was very impressed with how the depth of knowledge that Linda has. And Linda, if you'd be kind enough and would like to do this, if we could put a singular RFP together that has all the bullet points from Sandy River, Dallas, and Rangeley Plantation, along with Rangeley, then we could send out one RFP that would meet all of our needs. If that's satisfactory to all of you, it would save a lot of time. And wondered, Linda, if you wouldn't spearhead that.
So are we not looking at the draft request for proposal? I'm not sure what you're asking.
That's certainly a good starting point. Galaxy S9 keeps coming up on my screen. Is that you, Linda?
Nope, I'm just identified as Linda.
Keep,
Okay, I heard my name. Who is it?
Gary Keep.
Gary Keep, Rangeley Plantation.
Oh, Gary. Okay. Thank you. Now I know who we're talking to. So anyways, getting back to the RFP, the one that we have is the sample one, or whatever it's called. to me, is a good starting point. There clearly is some things that need to be added. It is concise, it's to the point, it meets the needs, but for each plantation, there may be other issues that are of concern to you that I want to make sure are included in it. Opinions?
Okay, well, if the other plantations have any particulars they want to put forward, we could put them in a draft.
You got your list of questions?
Say again, please. Did you catch that, Joe?
I think Mr. Keep asked if there was a list of questions.
Yeah, you should have a sheet that looks, well, I don't know. Can you see the screen, Gary?
I can see 4 screens, but wait a minute, let's see.
Yeah, well, anyways, we have a request for proposal. Well, you can't see mine, but you can see Joe's. That you should have. If not, we'll make a copy available for you here at the town office. And it's 2 pages long. It talks about high-speed internet, total estimated cost, et cetera, all the way down to review proposals by a certain date, March 24th. So what I would suggest, if you all agree, and believe me, I want all of your opinions. I think it's important that we're all on the same page here. That being said, Linda, would you be willing to spearhead the RFP proposal, get all of the, should there be any changes from each of the plantations? And then you, Joe, and I will get together and get it out as quickly as possible.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. I guess right off the top, are we looking for a PPP proposal, public-private proposal?
That's a good question. I don't know, Joe, what's your thoughts on that one? I think municipality is the way to stay right now, but.
I don't think we would discourage public-private. The way this RFP is written, Steve, is as you mentioned, quite succinct, but it's broad. So it allows folks that are interested to kind of tell us what they're offering. So there may be a company that says, we've got a public-private option for you. There may be, and there may not be, but there may be a company out there that says, we're looking to build the whole thing soup to nuts. So I kind of just want to make sure we've cast the net and have a real good idea of what's available to all of us before we really focus on any one offer that comes along. Or you could put something in the RFP, that a sentence that said, public-private partnerships would be considered, something like that, so that people know that, you folks are interested in listening to something like that.
What's your thoughts, Bubba and Scott?
I guess I'd agree with Joe. That's a fair idea.
Yep. Bubba? All right, Joanne?
I think this request for proposal, I would be able to go with this, but I do think that Linda has a good idea. I mean, Joe has a good idea about including that public-private partnerships would be considered.
Yep, I agree. Do we have anybody else that wants to chime in on this thing? Laura Reynolds?
Steve, it looks like she keeps getting kicked out of the room. I just let her back in. I don't know if she has a poor connection.
This is Liz calling from Rangeley Plantation, and the assessors did have a couple questions, and I don't know if it'd be a place for the RFP or something else, maybe just to think about. Are we getting a guaranteed project cost out of this RFP? One question. How is Consolidated or it projected any company paying the lease back? Are we going to be expecting a payment monthly, annually, quarterly? How is that going to be back into the communities?
Excuse me one sec. Bubba, go to mute so we can hear her, because I can barely hear her.
So the first question that they came up with was, is there a guaranteed project cost? If is a company going to be, towing the line to a certain budget, or is it going to be one of those projects where they go, an extra $1 million or $2 million above and beyond? And are we going to, consider that acceptable? They wanted to know how any companies that were entering into this lease agreement were going to be paying that back to each of the communities. Was it going to be like a monthly payment back, a quarterly payment back, or annually? How is that going to be paid back? Is there going to be a user fee cap outside of the first 2 years? I think Consolidated did a good job in coming back with some information on what they expected user fees to be for the first 2 years, but we wanted to just know about any projected major increases. Like, are we going to see a 600% increase, after the first 2 years, or what is their projected plan? And of course, not necessarily a question for the RFP, but I think it's already been touched on many times, but the formula that everybody's going to contribute to, I'm sure we'll figure that out later. And then you might have just said something about this, but how rates will apply to businesses. You'll have basically individuals and how things will change for a business. And I think so far those were the questions that they came up with the other night for Rangeley Plantation. Thank you.
I'm going to say thank you, but I must admit, I only heard an eighth of that. So I'm assuming that there's a lot of questions that you got down, Joe?
Yes, Steve, I wrote 4 of them. The first one was, will there be guaranteed project cost? Second one, how would the company that made the proposal be paying the community back? Hang on a second. Second one was, how would the company be paying the communities back? Is it monthly or quarterly, so forth? Third one was there a user fee cap outside of the first 2 years of service? And the last one I got was, how will rates apply to businesses as opposed to residential customers?
So Liz, those are all great questions. Can you just make sure that those are available for Linda as she compiles what's going to be going out with the RFP? Liz, you there?
Yeah, Steve, I'll make sure that happens.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, so we're pretty much in agreement, I think, on the structure of the RFP once Linda gets all this together. And then, I would like to say that if Sandy River has a requirement that isn't a requirement of Rangeley, we're still going to include it in the RFP so that all of the plantations and the town of Rangeley is getting what they need from the RFP. Are we in agreement on that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Linda?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Anything else on the RFP?
Steve, there's a hand up from John.
I can't see it. Who's asking a question?
His name is John.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to unmute my phone and it just took a minute.
Hey, John.
Yeah, this is John Chipchak. I'm a property owner up in Rangeley. I had a couple questions. I obviously haven't seen the RFP, but I'd like to make sure that we don't just limit this to 1 gigabit per second like I've heard, because in the future, we want to make sure we get as much future upgradability as possible out at the get-go. You don't want to say, oh, sorry, we only put cheap fiber in that only can go up to 1 gigabit. You want more, we have to reinstall it all and all the labor included, but then again, it could cost way too much to do that, so you got to balance things. And the other thing is the interconnection to the internet, wherever that point is or points in the network. Are we going to specify what kind of capacity that we'd want? Because we clearly don't want a 1 gigabit or network in town and have a 3 megabit connection to the internet kind of thing. We want to make sure that they're going to provide some, and maybe it needs to be some kind of percentage of traffic or something, or I'm not sure what the right words to say, but we want to make sure that we get a good pipe essentially to the internet. And this could be justification to get, I don't know what kind of speeds are coming available in Rangeley for the internet, like on fiber or something, but it would incentivize, what's the name, the communications, consolidated communications, to make sure that if we got 4 towns that want high speed and there's not enough bandwidth up to Rangeley, because all I know is I was working this summer up in Rangeley and listening to a video over my cell phone, and it was playing. I could hear the voice in it. It kept stopping for like 10 seconds and choppy 10, 20 seconds here, there, that I didn't get the whole thing. It's probably what I presume is the internet was completely saturated into Rangeley to where the cell phone folks attach into the internet. And, we want to make sure that we get some level of service and, high bandwidth out of Rangeley as well.
Yep, thank
So
you, John.
those are my
That
inputs.
is a concern. It has been highlighted in not only all of the meetings that we've had and the presentations that we've had. The bandwidth is supposed to be, again, to use the vernacular of those people making the presentations, state of the art, but I agree with you. And I also share some of the concerns of Consolidated that others have brought to my attention. John, can you make sure that you get a list of our future meetings so that you can come back and keep our feet to the fire, so to speak?
I can do that as best as I can. Like, I can only stay for 30 minutes today because I have to interview a new candidate from my company.
Okay, thank you.
But I'd like to be part of it. I'm an electrical engineer at heart. That's my degree, and I want to try and get the best service I can up in Rangeley. Because right now I've got 3 megabit down and 0.6 meg or 0.8 megabits up, which is ridiculous. You can't even call it broadband, but that's what it is. And I can tell you, just so that you guys have a data point, I actually was able to get in as a beta subscriber to SpaceX's, Starlink satellite system. And I can say, I did a quick test without getting it up on my roof. I'm getting, like 60, 80 megabits down and 20, 30 megabits up, which is so much better than what I can even get through DSL. I understand the way it is, but we got to make sure, and SpaceX has sent something to the FCC. I forget what it's called. Intention that before they were planning on providing gigabit service, through Starlink. And now they said, well, we're going to change it. We're going to provide 10 gigabits of service. That's our plan. They don't have to do it, but that's what they're telling their plan is. And so that's why I want to kind of make sure that this system isn't locked in at 1 gigabit. That's all.
Thank you. Mark, you had your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that at the Consolidated's initial presentation, they stated that the fiber that they were going to run was capable of 10 gigabits up and down. But they didn't think there was any need for that speed at this time, but the system would have the capability to do that.
Thank you. Anybody else? I can only see five faces, so you're gonna have to speak up. Carl, anything?
No comment, sir.
Thank you. Kerry, anything from you, sir?
Yeah, I wonder if somebody come up with the amount of subscribers we have now uh, by towns.
I don't have the answer to that. You have,
I think I might.
okay, thank you, Linda.
I've been looking into all of the work that was done by Seawall and the greater Franklin County efforts for broadband. And it looks to be that the data that they're using for rural services in Maine is taken from the public utility records of electric clients. But I'm sure you've noticed that it may not jive with what you think your population is or properties. So that would be a good question to get back with Jeff Prevalon, and I'll ask him. But it seems to be the standard that they use when they look at these proposals.
Thank you, Linda. Laura, you there?
I am here. Sorry, I missed the first part of the meeting, but I have nothing further to add or no questions.
Okay. Alan,
No, nothing to add.
okay. And there's somebody on just a telephone number, 206-864-5155. Is that right? Hello? Okay. Any new business that you want to bring up? And then the next meeting will be all about the RFP.
Steve, this isn't new business. This is Linda again. In your opening comment about the complaints and fair consolidated service, I know that Kate had spoken to some of the towns in New Hampshire that have instituted one of these programs, and they had hesitations going with consolidated because of the same reasons. And they have had absolutely no issues since they've installed the fiber optic cable. I think part and parcel in what we are suffering from at the moment is the DSL, the old copper plant that they're using that's hooked into the fiber optics that they've run cannot, it's to capacity. It can't handle anymore. It's old, it needs to be replaced. Well, I don't know if this is, part of a slowdown, that it's intentional, but if these folks continue to complain, it might be worth speaking to some of the other towns who have had a successful installation by Consolidated.
Do you know which town she spoke to, Linda?
I do. I just have to find it in my notes. She spoke to Westmoreland, New Hampshire, and Chesterfield.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate the input on that. Anything else under new business? All right, we've got the ubiquitous other business. Next meeting, when do you want to do it?
Should we set a deadline for the RFP draft first? Or are we all set? Has everybody expressed their concerns?
we'd like to release this draft on the 24th. That's the time frame that's been out there. If we could stay with that, that means everybody's got to get it to you between now and next, Monday, so that you have time to add or whatever you have to do to it, Linda, to get it ready to go. So everybody can review it at our next meeting.
Okay.
So you folks good with getting everything to Linda by Monday, the 22nd?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Okay. And that's good with you, Joe? Yeah, very good. So let's meet on the, let's see here. We have the,
So if that gets released, Steve, on Monday, if that goes out, what do you think about meeting after the proposals come back on March 24th?
we can do that. Yep.
That way you'll have some things to review, hopefully.
Let's hope so.
Yeah, so the draft as written, which is adjustable, obviously, but as written, it calls for responses on March 22. That gives us a couple of days to process. And then on the 24th, if this group met again, you could see what the results were of that. Just a thought.
Yep, works good. Is 2 o'clock good for you all? Does that work? I know it's hard on Scott and Carrie, but can you do it?
Yeah, I can do it.
Okay. Joanne, is that good for you?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, Linda?
Yep, that's fine. I just would like to clarify Joe's point. He said the RFP is going out on the 22nd. You were referencing the 24th.
Joe?
It's written as February 22nd for release, but then again, that's adjustable. If we don't get it ready, to go out until the 23rd, I think that's not a showstopper.
Okay, great.
We'll also know too, folks, I mean, this goes without saying, I think, but if we get nothing back, then obviously we march forward with what we have in front of us. So it'll be it's pretty self-evident at that point. We have anything else then, folks?
This is Laura. I just have one clarification. I'm not sure how this works, but do they have to wait till the 24th of March to give an RFP, or can we look at any that come in early?
I didn't get all of that, Joe.
The question, Steve, was can we look at RFPs as they come in the door, or do we need to wait until the 24th? My recommendation on that would be that they all get opened at the same time.
Yeah.
And then are reviewed after that. That's only fair that to someone that's hasn't gotten theirs in first, or the second person may have, because it's public information, may be able to come in and get that information and use it to their advantage. So best practice is to open them all at once publicly.
That answer your question, Laura?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything else from anyone? Talk to you.
Yes, Steve, do you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Now these questions, I don't know if any other towns have them, but we'll send questions in, and can we get the answers before the next meeting if it's possible? And maybe, any other questions that people come up with and any answers to those?
I don't see any problem with that. Let's find a clearinghouse point. I gotta be honest with you. I can't be the clearinghouse for this one. If somebody else would like to take that on, get your questions, maybe can I have a volunteer for that? How about you, Scott?
I'm not a good guy for that one. I'm just wondering if Linda's gonna be getting all the questions, but how are we gonna get the answers, I guess?
Yeah.
I didn't think we could get any answers till we got the RFP back. Otherwise, we'd be showing preferential treatment.
Exactly. Let's tackle that one, Carrie, after the next meeting when assuming we get some more RFPs back. If we have questions, then we'll get the answers at that point and schedule a meeting as quickly as possible to get them resolved.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, thank you. All right, folks, I appreciate it. If there's nothing else, I'll see you next week.
Hi, this is John. I was wondering, is there any way for me to get a copy of the RFP to review it? I don't know how that works. I'm a a resident of Rangeley.
Yes, we will have a copy of that here at the town office for you. This will be the one that
Well,
is,
I can't get up to the town office because I have to get COVID tested both directions and all that fun because I live in Massachusetts.
Give us a call. We'll email it to you. Call the town office. We'll get your email address.
Excellent. Thank you.
Aren't these posted on the Town of Rangeley website?
I think so.
I believe they are.
yeah.
But if you call, we can email it to you or guide you to the spot on the site. We'll be happy to help you.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that.
John, do you have the number?
I do.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.